want you to please welcome from Loma Linda, California, the chairman of Lifestyle Medicine Institute, the founder of the CHIP program, with more than 1.5 million books translated into 13 languages, bestsellers, Dr. Hans Diehl.
Thank you, Christina, for bringing the aesthetics to this program as well. And thank you, Danny and your team, for organizing a major event here in Lodi again. When I called last week to make reservations for a motel, I called 8 motels. And every time the answer was the same. And finally, someone said, "We have a suite available. That's the only thing we have left. This town is booked." And I said, "Why? What is the reason for the lack of rooms?" And they said, "This is the big health crusade." So I knew I was in the right place. Americans are getting larger every year. Even U.S. News has caught on, and this is this week's issue, The Truth About Weight Loss. People are looking for the truth. They're looking for a way to lose weight. And they like to do it in 1 week. But there isn't such a thing. Weight has to do with gradually gaining excessive poundage. It's a long-term problem, and it deserves a long-term answer. Quick fixes are dangerous. Let me show you some slides here. Here you see that America ranks number 1 in the average size, 168 pounds. And when you look at Asian people, and this is adjusted for identical height, you see 124 pounds per person. And we begin to realize that the American girth is growing larger every year. Please note here, 1960, 1980, 2000, you see a significant increase in the number of people that are obese now. And here it is expressed somewhat differently. Please note, this is the standard seat that was built by the Standard American Seating Company. In 1900, the average American seat was 16.5 inches. Didn't change very much the next 30, 40, 60, 70 years. But suddenly, in 1970, we jumped from 17 inches to 23 inches when we are refurbishing auditoriums nowadays. We begin to realize that we cannot pack as many people into those stadiums because the average seat had to accommodate the enlarging American derriere. Here you see the common scenario. The physician has just done examination and says the test results show you have what is known as the furniture disease. Your chest has slipped into your drawers. And then you see this again and again in the cartoons. Lately, she says, I cannot see my shoes anymore. And you know what that means, he asks. And she says, yes, you have to buy longer shoes. The diagnosis has been made, you're overweight. And the person says, doctor, should I eat the diet before or after the meals? And this is then the first principle that I want to establish here this morning, and that is if you want to be successful in weight management, you have to let all diets die. A diet has no place in a rational, scientific approach to managing your weight. You don't want to go on a diet, because if you go on a diet, you have to go off the diet. And you rarely learn anything in between. So if you want to be successful in weight management, let all diets die. Here's the waiter. Will this be all? Yes. They had just ordered a salad with vinaigrette. And the waiter says, is this really all? Yes, I'm starting a diet today. And the waiter says, oh, pity, because our special today is your favorite, fettuccine Alfredo. What do you think the response is? Well, I just can't pass that up. Bring the fettuccine, then I'll have that salad afterwards. I mean, after all, you just want a salad? That's right. After the fettuccine? That's right. And then he says, I've got to start this diet sometime. You see, we need to have a more rational approach to it. But how easy it is to find explanations for our overweight. Here you see the explanation is denial. 81% of people that are overweight underestimate the food they eat. And many people say, well, really, it's a genetic problem. I had a lady tell me that the other day, and I said to her, really? She said, yes. My father is overweight, my mother is overweight, I'm overweight, my husband is overweight, my children are overweight. And I said, your dog? Also overweight. Genetics? Some people say, well, we just have to change the norms. Why do we always point our skinny fingers at people that are pleasantly plump? You go to Mexico and everybody's pleasantly plump and people are accepted. They're in. We have the wrong norms. And that becomes then an explanation. Others say, well, I'm really eating these low-fat foods, but it doesn't work. Of course they don't work. Because you can be on low-fat cookies that are loaded with sugar. Right? So you have to begin to have a comprehensive understanding. And not to say, well, I tried these low-fat foods and they really don't work. Next slide, please. We have to be concerned about overweight and obesity because it is one of the most important health hazards in our society, and it's one of the most life-shortening habits that we have. Take a look. When you look at coronary artery disease, you're going to realize that obesity is one of the factors that drives this disease called atherosclerosis. For instance, just a 10% increase in weight would increase the chance of a heart attack by 30%. So every pound really counts. And here you see some very important data that comes from the scientific community that shows you basically the larger the weight, the heavier the person is, the greater the risk of early death. It's very simple. Here's the Center for Disease Control. They said recently excess weight kills every year more than 300,000 Americans by adding to cardiovascular disease, to cancer, to diabetes, to gallstones, and. And then they put it into a very poignant phrase, and they said, it actually hurts me to say it, because people that are struggling with overweight are very sensitive people. And they deserve our understanding. Here's a very tough summary that comes from the Center for Disease Control. It says, the fatter you are, the sicker you will be, the earlier you will die. Our choices play a major role in how long we are going to live and the kind of disease that we're going to have. We know that for every extra pound, you're giving up 1 month of life. Just figure that you are 50 pounds overweight. That is above the ideal that you should have for your height and for your frame. 50 pounds extra, that translates into 50 months. That's 4 years that you're giving up. And we're not saying anything about the added burden of morbidity, that is, disease that are taking place. If we can have the next slide. All too often people wonder, what is the ideal weight? There are different formulas that you can use. Actually, most people know when they're overweight. I mean, they step on the scale and then they don't like the scale, so they buy another scale, and then they put themselves on 2 scales. And they say, this is the kind of weight I like. Actually, if you want to know whether you're overweight, all you have to do is look in the mirror after disrobing and just let it all hang out for just a second. And look at the naked truth, and you'll see it's very, very scary. This morning, I have some good news for you, and that is that you, if you are struggling with overweight, if you're carrying extra pounds, you are not responsible for the extra weight. I thought you would all clap for this comment. You're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop now, right? No, I'm very sincere. At least I think part of what is happening in our culture today, where we have gone from 17 inches, the average seat, to 23 inches in just a few years. Part of it has to do with what the culture does to us. The culture is seducing us on every corner. You turn the television on, there are ads for fattening foods. You go to a hospital cafeteria, they're fattening foods. You go to a restaurant, they're fattening foods. You visit a friend, they're fattening foods. You go anywhere and you have snacks. And you know the rule. The larger the snacks, the larger the slacks. We are a society that no longer eats proper meals. We are just going from patch to patch all day long. We have become snackers. We have become grazers. What happened to the old-fashioned breakfast in the morning? I don't mean bacon, eggs. I mean a hot cereal for breakfast with some fresh fruit and some whole wheat toast. Whatever happened to the evening meal that we used to sit around a table to have and we could talk to one another? No more. Today we're sitting in a horseshoe. And at the center is the television set, and sometimes it becomes a place where we fight over the station. And so now we have to have 3, 4 television sets in the house so that everybody has their own favorite program to watch. And we no longer talk about what we're seeing. And our communication skills become almost extinct. And the meal is no longer eaten while sitting together around a table. Our culture is changing dramatically. We have become victims of the fast food craze. And when you have this kind of a diet that is promoted unto us in the name of convenience and fastness, then we're sitting ducks for piling on the pounds. And we have to place the burden at the culture, which is seductive, which is telling us, well, don't worry too much about that. Just eat, drink, and be merry. And tomorrow, some doctor and some pill will be invented, and they will take care of you. The geneticists are working on it. They'll take care of us. Don't worry. Don't take responsibility. Just enjoy. You go to a restaurant. What's the last word they say after you've ordered? Enjoy. Enjoy. And what comes after? Disgust, self-hate, anger, diminishment in self-esteem. And then you say, well, I don't feel that way. I'm a pretty happy kind of a person. And you sort of overcompensate by making a joke of it all. I wish we had time and we could talk about why we eat. It's a very fascinating topic, but I just want to give you some highlights this morning. I want to give you 5 basic rules that if you follow them, you'll be a winner in the losing game. And you will not fall victims to the missionary merchants of misery who promise you 5 pounds in 1 week. The summer is here, one size for your bikini smaller within 1 week. Don't believe it. If you want to be successful in weight loss, be sure that you take the long haul and you aim for 2 pounds a week. Oh, you say, I want to lose more than that. Well, it comes off easy and it comes back easy too. Go for the long haul. 2 pounds. If you're overweight, 2 pounds a week. And you can eat all you want, no worries about portion size anymore. Now, that's good news, isn't it? I mean, don't you think you've gone to heaven? I mean, people always tell you, push away from the table. That's the most important exercise. And we say, no, stay at the table. Enjoy. How could this be? No more diets, but a new lifestyle. A permanent lifestyle, a lifestyle that you can live with for the rest of your life. Not something where you change for 3-4 weeks, you lose those 15 pounds, and then you go back to the old lifestyle, and you have the rhythm method of girth control, and it doesn't work. We need to understand a very basic principle, and that is, weight is a function of how many calories you put in and how many calories you burn up. All right? And when people talk about weight management, losing weight, they always talk about first, eat fewer calories. And I said to you, why would you want to burden a person that loves to eat and restrict them and put them on a semi-starvation diet? Don't eat that much. No, we say if you want to be successful in losing weight, eat more. Are you interested? Now, the other concept that is being usually used in our society is this one here. We say, well, the person doesn't want to eat less, so we just have to teach the person to burn up more calories. So you have more calories going out, and if you have more calories going out than coming in, you're going to be losing weight, right? And so people do this. They walk an hour a day, and it doesn't work. Oh, it works to some extent, but it's not the answer. I mean, you walk for a whole hour, and you burn up 200 calories. If you have just left out the 2 donuts, that would have been much, much easier. Don't you think? I had a lady, she said to me, Dr. Diehl, I walk every day 46 minutes. I said, really? Has it helped you to lose weight? She said, no. I don't understand, she said. I'm following the rules. I don't understand. So I began to quiz her, and she said, you know, when I go on that walk every morning, after 23 minutes, I feel so good that I stop at the donut shop and I celebrate there, and then I go back. Well, that's not the way to lose weight, is it? And so we have to begin to understand that if you have more calories going in than going out, they're being deposited in your central bank, usually right here. Okay? And when you have 3,500 calories more than you need, then you will have put down 1 pound of fat, yellow fat, like chicken fat. That's right. And that fat begins to grow. It fills the central bank right here. And after a while, the central bank begins to fill up, and it spills over, and you develop branch offices. And then you become really worried. And then people begin to kind of point the finger at you and become very uncomfortable. And you wonder how you can get out of this miserable cycle that you're in. There's an answer for it. There's another reason that people oftentimes use, and they say, well, we don't walk anymore, we don't exercise anymore, and that is certainly a very legitimate reason, but it's only part of the answer. I want to focus this morning on the importance of making some wiser food choices. 5 principles. Number 1, try to cut back on empty, refined calories. You know what that is? These are calories that have no nutrition value. They're naked calories. I'll give you some example. First slide here. This is a beet, a sugar beet, but we don't eat sugar beets like this. We take the sugar that comes out of it and we let everything go that is part of the original sugar beet, and we just settle for the white sugar. And so the average American today consumes about 160 pounds of sugar per person per year. And you say, that doesn't really mean very much to me. Why don't you say that to me in table teaspoons? And please note, 1825, we consumed 2 teaspoons per person per day. Now we consume 40 to 45 teaspoons of sugar a day, and every teaspoon is 15 calories. No nutritional value, just empty calories. They make you larger. And you say to yourself, there must be something wrong. I mean, I don't eat 40 teaspoons of sugar. Well, that's the average. If you don't, then your neighbor must be eating your share and is eating more than that. Let me just give you some idea where the sugar is and how easy it is to develop these sugar habits. If we can have the next slide, please. Here you see a dramatic increase in the consumption of sugar. Please note that soda pop, soft drinks, are the #1 reason for the enormity in the increase in sugar consumption. It accounts for 1/3 of all the refined sugar in the diet. Please note, you look at a 1 to 2-year-old baby, a toddler, and that baby, 20% of these babies are already consuming 1 cup of soda pop, soft drink a day. Children, 1 to 2 years of age, already consuming soft drinks. And here you see Pepsi and Dr. Pepper and 7-Up. They encourage feeding soft drinks to toddlers by licensing their logos. They put the Dr. Pepper logo on the baby bottle. And when they do this, you know what happens? Infants and toddlers are 4 times likelier now to be fed soda pop out of those logo bottles than if you had regular baby bottles. That's how we introduce the feeding of babies and introducing sugary drink in our society. By the time a person is 3 to 5 years of age, children, 1/3 of them already consume 11 ounces of soda drink a day. And then when it comes to the teenagers, 80% of our teenagers drink 30 ounces. So we see a real epidemic of soda pop drinking. Please note, a teenage boy consumes about 868 cans of soda pop a year. And of course, you know how the companies do this. They market their logo to boys' clubs and girls' clubs, to schools, for $1-million contracts, so that a particular brand has monopoly for one particular school, and they're willing to pay $10 million for 10 years to these schools. And the administrators of these schools buy into these seductive forces because they feel they have to balance their budget, never mind the long-term consequences of our children. I think we need to change this. I think it's obscene that we're selling the health of our children for money. Of course, it's not just the soft drinks. Here you have the donuts, you have the cakes, you have the pies, you have the banana splits, 25 teaspoons of sugar, and even when it comes to our cereal, we still oftentimes add sugar to it. We have our caffeine-containing drinks, we add the sugar there. And it's very easy to get 30, 40 teaspoons of sugar a day per person. This is what we have become sold on. I mean, these are the candies, right? I mean, this is what kids are growing up with. If you want to be a marathon runner, if you want to be a record holder, you eat what is being promoted by these athletes. And there you have then. You have the candy bars, but you also have things like the Ho-Hos and the Twinkies. These are our brain foods for the next generation. The zingers, the ding-dongs. I mean, these are the brain foods of the next generation. What is happening to our kids? Tomorrow I'm going to show you a video. 8 minutes of what happens when children are being fed real food, what happens to their antisocial behavior, what happens to their GPA, what happens to their manageability in the classroom. Amazing. And this is what we feed our children. We think this is cereal. We've been told have a breakfast for the kids, so we feed the kids cereal. Folks, this is not a cereal. This is candy that we sell to our children, that we sell to our parents. That's what we serve our kids. These products are 50% oftentimes or more sugar. This is not really cereal. Please note, people sometimes ask, well, why is it that we eat so much of these junk foods? Well, please note, Kellogg, Frosted Flakes, the advertising budget just for one cereal, just one brand, was $34 million. That contrasts to the National Cancer Institute campaign that we should have at least 5 fruits and vegetables a day for the whole nation, and the whole budget there is $400,000. Do you see the difference? I gave the presentation one time in Michigan, and I mentioned that Kellogg spends $34 million in advertising one brand. And a man raised his hand. I acknowledged him, and he said, "Sir, I take exception to your figures. I am the vice president of marketing and advertising of the Kellogg Company. Your numbers are wrong. It is $39 million. You have seen those empty calories, haven't you? Yeah, they're everywhere. Just to give you some idea, you can take 7 ounces, a tube of Pringles, and you will have over 1,100 calories. And people tell me they can eat them in 15 minutes. That's 1/3 of a pound of fat, because it takes 3,500 calories to put 1 pound of fat together. 1,100, that's 1/3 of a pound of fat that people can acquire within 15 minutes. Amazing, isn't it? On the other hand, if you were going to eat these 1,100 calories in the form of real potatoes, you could eat 8, 9, 10 potatoes, and I dare say that nobody here could eat 10 potatoes in 15 minutes. Do you see? When you eat foods as grown, as it comes to us in nature, as it was designed by a master designer, you can eat all you want, and you cannot overeat calorically, because there is so much roughage there, you can only eat so much. You cannot eat 10 potatoes, but you can eat the equivalent of 10 potatoes in calories in the form of any kind of a crinkly bag. And I want to show some video for you in just a minute or so. So if you get ready in a couple of minutes. Be careful about these crinkly bags. Be careful about these processed foods. This is not the way God designed food. This is man-made. This is the master designer's product. And this is what we do. We take 14 ears of corn, and we make 1 tablespoon of corn oil out of it, and we can easily eat that corn oil, but we throw all the good things that the corn has away, and we give this to our well-fed pets as vitamin pills, and we eat the triglyceride or the oil. Brilliant, isn't it? Yeah. And how easy it is for us to take 1 tablespoon of oil in the form of some potato salad. We don't even notice it. If you wouldn't have these food factories, can you imagine you would have to eat 14 ears of corn to get 1 tablespoon of oil equivalent? It's only because of food technology that we can so easily fall into the trap of eating concentrated calories. Number 1 principle, reduce empty calories, such as sugar. Sugar represents 20% of all the calories we eat, no nutritional value. Number 2, oils, refined oils and fats. That's another 20% of our diet, 20% of our calories that we eat. Empty, refined calories such as fats and oils. Let me give you some idea what we do with the original corn. We make corn out of it, and then we take it and we make popcorn. Do you see how much fat there is in 1 little bag of popcorn? 72 grams of fat, and most scientists would feel comfortable to recommend that you shouldn't have more than 30 or 40 grams for the whole day. the fat you eat will walk around tomorrow. How you can look at these barbecue chips. Let's take a look at those crinkly bags. If we can have a video right now, it's about a 4-minute video that I did for a television spot a few months ago, and I wanted you to see what that looks like. Crinkly bags. You want to lose weight and keep it off and have a good time with it? Then you don't want to go on a diet. Let all diets die. Because if you go on a diet, you will go off it someday, and you will have the yo-yo syndrome going up and down and up and down, only frustrating you and your body. Instead, eat for health, change your lifestyle, do it for life, and the scale will take care of itself. Today's tip is to be careful, be wary about crinkly bags. Why? Let's take a look. Here we have some chili cheese corn chips. This is a small bag, 10 ounces. This can be eaten in no time. And yet, when you have finished this little bag here, you will have had 1,700 calories, which is half a pound of fat on your torso. That's right. When you finish this, you will have had 110 grams of fat. And we shouldn't have more than 30 to 40 grams for the whole day. Do you see? These are high-calorie packages. Don't eat it if it comes in crinkly bags. Here's another one, 10 ounces. This is called Crunchy Cheetos. What do we have here? This is now 10 ounces, 1,600 calories. And again, you have in this bag 100 grams of fat, and we would be much better off keeping it between 30 and 40 grams for the day. Plus, it is also fairly high in salt. So be aware of crinkly bags. They look like innocent, but they're caloric bombs. Here's one more. Cheddar cheese and sour cream artificially flavored potato chips. 10 ounces again. You hear the crinkly sound? Be aware. Again, you have 1,300 calories in this particular package. The fat content is somewhat less, but again, concentrated calories. Be careful about crinkly bags. Here you have now Cracker Jacks, caramel-coated popcorn and peanuts. And here now, when you have finished this little package of 8 ounces, you will have consumed almost 1,000 calories. And here again, you have now a lot of sugar, plus you have some fat. This is not good nutrition. These are concentrated calories. You want to be careful. Anything that makes that noise, be careful. 2 more. You have sweet puffs, golden puffs of wheat. What do we have here now? This is now, how many ounces do we have here? Doesn't say. But what you have here is you have 1 cup, 15 cups of these puffs, and you have the equivalent of 130 times 15. You have almost 2,000 calories in this package here. Again, this is a very high sugary food. If it sounds like a crinkly bag, don't eat it too often. And the last one here, Cocoa Blasts. And here once again, per cup, you have 130 calories, and we usually take more than 1 cup. But more importantly, you have 16 grams of sugar in 1 cup of these refined cereals. This is not really a cereal. This is a kind of a candy, which is loaded with sugar. You want to use them only occasionally and in very small amounts. Remember, if it sounds like this, if it comes in a crinkly bag, use it rarely, but instead eat food as grown, and you can eat more food, you have good nutrition, and you are becoming a winner in the losing game. Here's my tip for today. Beware of crinkly bags. So you know the sound now, right? Yeah. Stay away from them. Next slide. You want to stay away from these kind of foods. These are not foods that were made by the master designer. These are human productions. They're made for profit. And we seduce whole cultures with our food productions. This is a Japanese artist that pointed very well out 31 flavors invading Japan. You see, we are hung by the ton. Do you see that? And nobody can resist. But we know better. We want to eat foods as grown. I'm trying to move the slides along here, and I don't have the support that I need here. Please take a look here. We take an apple, we turn it into apple pie, and we go from 80 calories to 500 calories per slice. Because after all, we eat it a la mode, right? And then you go to the store and you find Wonder Bread. You have seen Wonder Bread? I mean, if you take Wonder Bread and you poke a hole into the cellophane and then you squeeze it, you wonder where it is. And that's what people eat. I mean, no respectable rat would eat Wonder Bread because they would die because it doesn't have enough nutrient value. But we as human beings, we are the intelligent ones. We go for Wonder Bread. And then when we take it out of the bag, it has no shape. It's amorphous. The first thing we have to do is put it into a toaster to stabilize it. We do this to ourselves, and then we don't like it. It's too dry. It's like a zwieback. And so then we put some butter on top. So we put 200 empty calories of fat and oil on there to make it moist, right? And then we put the peanut butter on, and then it sticks to our false teeth. And we say, well, and then you put the marmalade, the jam on top, so it slides down the chute a bit easier. And instead of having 100 calories of sound bread calories, you now have 500 empty calories. And people say to me, I cannot eat bread. It's fattening. It's not the bread. It's what you do with it. It's the overhead that kills us. So next time, you buy the best bread. You never save money on bread. You find the best bread in town, multi-grain, well-prepared, well-baked. And then you freeze it. And then when you put it out of the freezer, you put it into your toaster. Just not once, because it's frozen, but you do it twice. When you do it twice, the bread now is toasted and it's moist, just like you like it. There is no need for putting butter and margarine and these fats and oils on there. And then if you want to be really creative, you can put some nice banana slices on top of that, sort of diagonally cut, make it very, very aesthetically pleasing. You put some kiwi slices on top of that. Folks, you don't have to buy jam. You can use fresh fruit and enjoy it. It's so simple, and it's money-saving. If you follow these kind of guidelines, you can reduce your food bill by 30 to 40%, and you can eat mangoes for breakfast. That's right. Here again is a very important principle. Eat food the way it comes to us in nature. Eat the apples the way you see them there. And if you have applesauce, do it only once in a while, because applesauce concentrates the calories. And when you turn them into apple juice, you concentrate even more. So remember, principle number one, reduce the intake of empty calories that are refined, engineered foods. They are coming from sugar. 20% of all of our calories comes from sugar. Number two, it comes from fats and oils. The refined fats and oils, we don't want to have these many fats and oils that you find in the candy bars and in the butter and in the margarine and in the oils that we use for frying. You don't need those. And number three, you want to cut back on alcohol. 10% of all the calories eaten by American men come from alcohol. And they come to me and they say, well, we thought it was liquid bread. No. So you begin to understand now, as you look at the summarization slide here, a very, very important slide. When you add up the refined sugars, the refined fats, and the alcohol, you add up these three compositions, and you have a 50% of our calories are non-nutritious calories. They're empty calories. We are overfed and undernourished. And then people say to me, well, I'm going to take a vitamin pill, that will take care of it. No, it doesn't. We got to change the basic American diet. You cannot have a steak and then say, I'm going to shake some oat bran on top. No, we got to change the basic diet. You cannot have the candies and the German chocolate cakes and everything else that goes with it, which is used today to induce us and to seduce us. And then to say, well, I'm going to take some vitamin pills and that will take care of things, or I take something, a laxative. No, folks. We need to deal with the basic problem, and that is the kind of food that we eat. So that's principle number one. Reduce, avoid, cut back on empty calories such as sugary products, oily products, and alcohol. Principle number two, cut back on anything that comes from an animal, because animal products are usually high-fat products. Did you know that 75% of the fat we eat is hidden? You don't even know it's there. Did you know that when a person eats a half-chick box of extra crispy, that's the equivalent of 18 pats of butter? Think about that. You look at meat. You look at that corned beef, that's 74% fat. That sirloin steak is 75% fat. Spare ribs, 80% fat. These are not high-protein foods. These are high-fat foods. And then you have the different kinds of meats, the different kinds of sausages. You have the liver sausage. You have the frankfurters. You have the all-American hot dog. Do you notice something on the bottom there? The American hot dog? That's 85% of the calories is fat. And ladies and gentlemen, you don't want me to tell you what the other 15% are made of. Because everything that you cannot sell goes into that hot dog. Everything but the oink. And so we have to begin to understand that meat products are usually very high in fat. And this is what the average American meat eater consumes in a lifetime. The average person in this country, the meat eater, consumes 12 cows in a lifetime. Imagine, we eat 12 cows from the snout to the end of the tail. 12. Plus, there was some more there, wasn't there? 25 pigs. Plus 2,500 chickens that have to go through the intestinal tract. We are major killers as a society. The U.S. slaughter represents some 160 million mammals that are being butchered. In addition to this, we have 8 billion turkeys and chickens and ducks that are being consumed in our society. These are high-fat foods, and you cannot lose weight unless you cut back on animal products, because animal products are usually high in fat. And that includes chicken too, especially the way it is prepared nowadays. Let's take a look at this slide here. You order a quarter-pound hamburger with French fries and milkshake, and right there you have 15 teaspoons of grease, and with that come life-threatening diseases. And so it's no wonder that somebody said some years ago that men dig their graves with their own teeth and die more by those fatal instruments than the weapons of their enemies. On the other hand, Dr. Willett at Harvard recently said, if you step back and look at the data, the scientific data, the optimum amount of red meat you should eat is 0. And mind you, that includes in my book white meat and pink meat as well. And then you look at dairy products. Again, these are high-fat products. You look at milk. Milk is 50% fat. Cheese is 70% fat. And you look at cream cheese. Cream cheese. I always loved cream cheese. It spoiled everything for me when I found out that it was 90% fat. I I mean, you might as well eat Vaseline. That's 100%. And so please let us be aware that the number one position of fat and oil in the American diet is really meat, poultry, and fish, followed by salad oils and shortenings. So if you want to lose weight, cut back on animal products because they're usually high in fat. But also be careful with nuts. I mean, just a small can of nuts, as you see here, is 1,700 calories. That's a half a pound of fat. I mean, I have vegetarians that say we don't eat meat, but they just reach in for the peanuts and the almonds and everything else. Use them in small amounts. Remember, nuts have a big shell around them for a purpose. And you only get a hammer to crack them. And if you have to do it this way, you probably will not overeat on nuts. But there's something else that you should be aware of, and that is, as we all know, an explanation for our overweight is the fact that our food is not served anymore. It is just shoveled. Let me tell you what happened. When I came to this country in the 1960s, this is what I saw. People were slender, and people would share their lasagna. And then everything changed. On the left side, you see the beverage, the average beverage of the 1960s, and then you see the beverage 40 years later. It's about 2 or 3 times larger. You see the change in the size of popcorn. You see this change in the cookie then and the cookie now. Everything today are monster cookies. And then you look at the hamburger then, and you look at the hamburger now. And then you look at the consumer then, and you look at the consumer now. And please note, this lady, both of them are having high-fat, cheesy lasagna dishes there, but she is complaining because she wanted to have a diet soft drink. So we have to begin to become aware that if you want to lose weight, you have to be careful about empty calories, number one. Number two, you have to be careful about high-fat food, especially animal products. And here you see milk, ice cream, cheese, cream cheese, beef, pork. They're all high in fat, 50 to 90% fat. And also be careful with nuts because they're about 80% as well. And so then that brings us to the question, well, what should we eat then? Is there anything left? Yes, there is. There are 4 basic food groups that I like to recommend to you. I want to recommend to you more fruits. If we can have the slides back, please. More fruits, more grains, more legumes. These are the beans and the lentils and so on, the peas, and more vegetables, because all of these foods are very high in nutritional value, but they're very low in calories. So you want to eat foods that have lots of roughage, but they have little caloric density. In contrast to the candy bars. I talked to a group of medical students a few weeks ago, and I showed them a candy bar, and I said, how long would it take you to eat this king-size candy bar? Oh, they argued over that for a while, and then they said about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I said, how many calories? They said, we don't know, because we don't have nutrition in medical school. Oh. So it told me it was 580 calories for this king-size candy bar. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, it's gone. I said, are you full? No. What are you going to do next? Another candy bar, another 500 calories, right? Yeah. And then I pulled out a bowl with fruits. It had grapes, it had an orange, an apple, a pear, a mango, and a kiwi. I said, how many calories do you have in here? They said, we don't know. We don't take nutrition in medical school. I said, well, this is 495 calories. They said, really? I said, how long would it take you to eat those? Remember, the candy bar took 2 minutes and 30 seconds. They said, these would take us 2 weeks to eat. You see, when you eat food as grown, you can eat lots of food and you don't have to worry about the calories because they're properly positioned. Please note, when you have concentrated food like fat, you may only have a very small portion of your stomach filled, and yet you have 500 calories. On the other hand, if you have complex carbohydrate foods, such as grains, such as potatoes, fruits, and vegetables, you can fill your stomach and eat to your heart's content, and you only have 500 calories. That's what you want to do. And with that comes all the fiber and all the micronutrients. You don't have to worry so much about having to eat more of vitamin pills and so on. I want to give you a few more comparisons here to help you to understand what food processing does. It concentrates calories. Small packages, large caloric bombs. Let's take a look. This just came out in a book by Dr. Shapiro. Please note, you can have a fat-free cookie, which is a Fig Newton bar, one of those little ones. They look very innocent, right? It's not very many calories, 60, but you could have eaten a whole cantaloupe. That's also 60 calories. You could have one chicken nugget, or you could have had a whole dish of lentil soup, the same number of calories. You could have had French fries, which is 360 calories, or you could have eaten 4 ears of corn. Now, wouldn't the ears of corn fill you up? Yeah. You could have some baklava, just a small portion. Or you could have had all of the rice and beans, zucchini, tomatoes, and squash. Or you could have had an apple pie, just one slice, almost 500 calories, or you could have eaten 5 apples, which would fill you up more, which would give you the satiety that you're looking for. When I go to some of these conventions sometimes, I see people in their social hour with a little bit of vodka in their glass, not a lot, just a little bit of vodka, maybe a half a cup of nuts. They have no idea that right there you have 740 calories. It goes down and you don't even notice it. People could have eaten 5 pounds of fresh fruit plus 2 rolls. So when you eat food as it is prepared, concentrated calories, you have to always worry about your girth. When you eat foods as ground, you have to worry about that. Let me just summarize 5 principles. The first one is we talked about concentrated calories. They're usually related to refined foods, engineered foods. We talked about reducing empty calories such as sugar, refined fats, and alcohol. Principle number 2, we suggested be careful about animal products because they're usually very high in fat. A steak is 70 to 80% fat. It's a high-fat food, not a high-protein food. We have to understand this. Animal products, including dairy products, most of them are fairly high in fat. Cheese is 80% fat. It's difficult to lose weight unless you begin to cut back on these products. Principle number 2, animal products reduce. Number 3, eat more of foods as grown. Eat more of the grains, good grains, a good breakfast, multigrain bread, whole wheat pasta. Eat more legumes. There's some 40 different kinds of beans and peas and lentils. They're all there for us to enjoy. More fruits and more vegetables. Enjoy it. The color is fantastic. The nutrition is outstanding. These are royal foods coming out of the hand of the master designer. Principle number 4. And by the way, when it comes to those foods that I just mentioned, you can eat all you want. You cannot overeat calorically. Principle number 4. Walk every day. Get into a walking program, into an exercise program, not because you want to lose weight, but it's just it is the good thing to do. It makes you feel good, and it will also help you with your weight. And number 5, tie into social and spiritual resources. Some people have gone through a lot of pain in their lives, and they oftentimes find food to be a very comforting thing to do. Some of these people might want to consider getting some professional help to begin to understand and to resolve some of these deeper issues. Because we eat for many different reasons, don't we? And tie into social systems. Have a buddy. Let people know that you're going to do a different lifestyle from now on to help you lose 2 pounds a week. And you can eat all you want of the right foods. And when you have that hand in the cookie jar, you use the other hand and you dial your buddy, your friend, and you say, "Help! I have my hand in the cookie jar. What do I do next?" And you know what your buddy's going to tell you? Embrace the cookie. And then, and take it out. And then, and eat it. Really? Yes. And then, seal the jar. That one cookie is not going to throw you out of your new lifestyle. That's just a little misstep. And we do those things as we develop new habits. It's just a little misstep. You're not a failure, but seal the jar. And then for some of us that are comfortable, let me recommend to you the ultimate power that is there for us to embrace. For some of us, we need the power of God to help us to resist the power of seductive forces that are everywhere in our society. Our culture is a poisoned well, and we need all the help to withstand its seductive powers. So 5 principles. Reduce empty calories. Number 2, reduce animal calories. Number 3, eat more foods as grown. Enjoy them. You don't have to push away from the table. Prepare them simply. It's all easy to do. You can save money. And number 4, get into a daily walking or exercise program. And number 5, tie into social and spiritual resources. Because God didn't waste time to make you a nobody and a failure. God designed you to be successful and to be a winner even in the losing game. God bless you.